Reloading for the MK12 Mod. Stick around. Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the HK Rifleworks YouTube channel. This evening we're going to be doing some reloading, and we are going to put together some 77 grain 5.56 loads for the MK12. So first off, we are going to be using tack powder. We've got some 8208 XBR, we've got some Varget, but we have a pretty good amount of tack. So hopefully we can get some pretty good results with that. If we don't, we'll swap up the powder a little bit, but for right now, we're at least gonna start off with some tack. Brass-wise, we are shooting some once fired Lake City 5.56, and this has been tumbled, and the military crimp has already been removed on these. I was able to do that prior to recording this video, so we didn't have to wait on a tumbler and sit around and remove military crimps. CCI 400 primers, and for our projectiles, we are going to shoot the Sierra Match Kings to 77 grains. Now, I was looking at a few manuals. I was cross-referencing from some data from the Hornady manuals and the Sierra manuals. And for tack, it looks like for around the 75 grain to the 77 grain open tip match projectiles, the median charge weight here is right above 22 grains, and both the Sierra and the Hornady manual top out at 23.8 grains. So how I think we're gonna set this up, so we're gonna do an optimal charge weight test, and we are going to do 5 siders and getting us on paper, essentially. And we haven't shot this rifle yet with an optic on it. We've shot it with irons. We zeroed the irons prior to painting, but we haven't shot it since we mounted the optic. So these are kind of going to be our siders, our test loads, everything like that. And then we are going to start at 22.2, and we are going to work our way all the way up to 23.6. So we are going to be just shy of published book values. And I've noticed Hornady's a little conservative, as y'all probably know too. With these manuals, there's a lawyer attached to them, so they aren't going to give you super hot loads. So we're still going to stay in these parameters and just see what happens. We're going to check our velocity. Obviously, we're going to be under chronograph, so we're going to kind of gather all of our data tomorrow when we shoot this. And then potentially, if we have more time over the weekend, we will find out what our most accurate projectile is. If we have a good group and a good SD number, an acceptable SD number, maybe we'll load some of those up and we'll hit the long range, and we'll try and take it out to about 1,000 yards if we can. But anyways, so I just wanted to do a quick touch base on this real quick and let you know what we were getting into, kind of our starting parameters. That we'll do a whole series on plenty of different cartridges, but again, I just wanted to do a start on this MK12 and thought this would be a pretty good spot. Our loading, our cartridge overall length for this, I think that we're gonna load to 2.250 on this. As y'all know, with these projectiles, like these hollow point boat tail projectiles and the hollow points, the meat-plats are sometimes inconsistent. So meat-plat is where when the bullet essentially comes to the point, the tip is rolled over and it has that little hollow point there. These are fairly inconsistent. So most of our measurements are going to be from the cartridge base to the ogive, but just to be on the safe side, to give us a little leeway room, we're going to measure our cartridge overall length at 2.250. Then we'll find our cartridge base to ogive, and then we'll seed off of that. So just in case some of these meat-plats are a little inconsistent, or like they're canted, or like on a little diagonal, we can still maintain feeding reliability, and our AR-15 mags, our Magpul mags, is what we're going to be using on this. So anyways, I'm going to grab some of my tools. We're going to get ready to size this brass. I'm going to grab my shoulder bump gauge. We're going to be using a full-length sizing die. We aren't going to be using a small base die. I've sized up a few pieces of brass, and it looks like we're going to be okay in this chamber on that Douglas barrel. And we're going to do that, and we're also going to hope that we get pretty good neck tension here. I never really crimp on my semi-automatic or like gas guns. Knock on wood, I've never had any setback, and I've tried to measure it a few times. I've taking the cartridge base to ogive, cycled rounds, you know, drop the bolt, everything like that. Obviously not with a round in the chamber, but a round in the magazine to feed into the chamber. But I've never measured any setback, but we're gonna double, triple check our neck tension on this. We're gonna set back our shoulders, make sure our brass is sized properly. Probably gonna shoot for around 3 thousandths to 4 thousandths shoulder bump. And yeah, so we'll grab our tools, we'll hit the bench, we'll get to it. We'll see you out there. All right, first things first, we need to properly size our brass. So we have some once fired brass from the Mark 12 that we used to sight in our iron sights before we painted. And what we've done is we've punched a few primers out of these, and we are using a Hornady headspace comparator gauge. And essentially what we're doing is we're taking a measurement from a datum line on the shoulder to the base of the case, right? So when we size brass, we want to make sure that the shoulder is bumped back and also the body of the case is sized, etc. The neck gets expanded if there's a ding in it. Your neck tension gets set, essentially. Your case mouth gets uniform. But what we want to do is take our first measurement and figure out how big our chamber or how much this brass has stretched after it's been fired. And it looks like on this case right here, we are using the A collet on this Hornady gauge, but it looks like we are at 3.472. So 3.472 is our shot brass size out of this Mark 12. And I've kind of cheated a little bit. I've punched a few of these primers, I've measured them, they are all the same. But I have preset my die to bump us back a little bit. So, just taking a quick measurement of this piece of brass, and we are at, again, that 3.472. So, we are looking, once we size this up, we're looking to bump back about 3 to 4 thousandths. So, we're looking between 3.468 and 3.469, if my math serves me correct. So we're gonna get a little bit, we're using a little bit of this Imperial sizing die wax. This stuff lasts forever. I think I've reloaded a couple 1,000 rounds and it's still like just barely put a dent in it. So what we're gonna do is we are going to lube up our case, and we have our 5.56 or I guess 223 bolt face shell holder on the press. Give it a good stroke, and give it a good stroke. Come on, Hunter. Run the press. Clean off any excess wax, and take a look. And we are exactly at 3.468. So we have bumped back, successfully bumped back 4 thousandths. Maybe just over 3.468 on this one specifically. I'm sure we can probably replicate that pretty close. But for all intents and purposes, this is what we're gonna use in terms of our shoulder bump. So we are going to put that there, and we will tumble, anneal, punch these primers, everything that we need to do to get to here. So now it's time to focus on this brass right here. So when we take a measurement of this brass, we are at 3.469. That's what we want. That is 3 thousandths under for our Mark 12. Let's lube this case up here, run it through, and just triple check. Cool, this looks like 3.4685. So I don't know if we want to go to 10 thousandths measurements, but we can for video's sake, I guess. Wipe this next one off, and let's see where this one's sitting. And this is at 3.469. All right, so our die is definitely set correctly. Everything's good to go. I'm gonna flip these around real quick. And what we're gonna do is, I'm probably gonna cut the camera so I don't bore you all to death. I'm gonna finish these pieces of brass, and then we will reconvene when we are ready to clean out some primer pockets, chamfer the case mouth and deburr the case mouth, and getting ready to prime. All right, we're ready to roll. We've got our sized brass here, and we are about to prep it for priming. So what I like to do is we will brush out the primer pocket, chamfer and deburr the case mouth, and then we will run a brush right through the neck. So we have a small primer pocket brush right here. We'll just brush it out just a tad. Looks good. We'll do a little chamfer. We'll do a little deburr. We'll brush out the neck. And then do the same for every case until we're done. So again, just like before, to save you all the time of sitting here watching me do this, I'll probably cut the camera and then we will come back when it's time to prime and charge the powder. All right, we are back. It's actually the next morning. When we were prepping this brass and getting everything situated, it was about 12:30 a.m. and I just had to call it. I was beat from work and everything. So we've got this brass primed up and we've got some tack in the Chargemaster 1500. We're going to throw out a couple of different charges. Again, like we said, we're gonna start at 22.2 and end up at 23.6 in increments of 0.2 grains. So I'm gonna get this charged up and we'll get to seating bullets. All right, so now we're getting ready to seat some of these bullets. And I ended up pulling one of these dies that I had. This is also a 223 seating die. For an M4A1 that I used, I've got a Block 2 that I shoot out. It's got a 1-to-10 like LPVO on it, the Razor Gen 3. And I just remembered that I set this die up. I also use the Magpul mags. I set this die up for magazine length with 77 grain Sierras, the Sierra Match Kings, to fit properly. So I just took a quick sec and I loaded up about 5 of these. These are the test cider loads that we're gonna do just to get us on paper before we start shooting our groups and gathering our data. But I wanted to check real quick and just load these up, and it looks like this is set. All 5 of these fit just right. I don't know if you could see that, but this is about maximum length to fit in this magazine right here. And I ended up checking the cartridge overall length, and it looks like we're right about 2.255. Let's see, 2.255, that's 2.260. But like we talked on the slight, that's 2.255. The slight inconsistencies on the me-plat where the bullet tip rolls over kind of, we just don't want to exceed 2.260. So I think this is set for around 2.255, and then some of these that are a little bit longer, we'll get into the 2.260 area, but I think we're right at the perfect or the maximum length we can load for this specific magazine. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna change some of this value. I wrote down that we were going to do an optimal charge weight test at 2.250. I'm just gonna change it to 2.260. And hopefully this sizing die works well, because again, like I said, it's set for another rifle in terms of bullet jump, but again, we're using the same magazine. So hopefully this rifle likes this seating depth for this. So what we're gonna do real quick is we are going to take our ogive comparator right here and find the 22 portion, 1.783 right here. And note, this is an inch long, this ogive comparator right here. So I'm just subtracting an inch. So we have 1.783 on this guy. The next one right here is we will look at that's 1.782. Do this again. 1.782. So it looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of 1.782 on this. 1.7, that one's 1.782 and a half. if we want to get into 10,000ths again. And then last one, 1.78, just a hair over 1.782. So we will call our cartridge base to ogive for this as 1.782 to 1.783 CBTO. So anyways, we got that situated there. We are gonna get started and load up these different charge weights here. So we are going to start at the 22.2. And we are just gonna knock this out, work our way up, and then make sure they shoot okay. Check this cartridge base ogive again. 1.782. So we are dead nuts in line where we need to be. So anyways, like we did before, I feel bad. We just talked about this for a second. I'm like, hey, I'll see you when I'm done. But I understand these videos can get quite long. So I'll probably cut the cam once more for the last time, wrap up these charges, or wrap up seating these bullets, and we will reconvene. All right, one thing I wanted to do real quick that I completely forgot to document on video is measure our neck tension. So what we need to do for this is we're gonna take a size piece of brass. This has powder in it. It's ready to accept a bullet. And what we're gonna do is we are going to measure the diameter, the width of the neck with no projectile in it. So it looks like we are getting about 0.244 to 0.245 on this neck. So hopefully when we put this projectile in here, we are gonna shoot for about 0.246 to 0.247. That'll give us about 0.002, maybe just a tad over of neck tension. And that should suffice. I haven't seen any setback issues, but that should suffice for a gas gun. So again, you know what we're shooting for, and it looks like we are at 0.247 on this. So we have just over 0.002 of neck tension. I think that's gonna be right on the money for this gun. We'll definitely measure and check to make sure that we don't get any setback, but again, I don't think that we're gonna have any issues. So we'll wrap this up and we'll see you at the desk. All right, so we just wrapped up our optimal charge weight loads for the Mark 12 here. And I was doing some thinking, and what I think I'm gonna do is, this video is already gonna be pretty long as is, going through the whole loading process, figuring out what we're gonna do. So I'm actually gonna separate the loading videos and the shooting videos. And I'm gonna make sure that they're notated correctly on YouTube. So I'm gonna break it into parts. So this will be loading for the Mark 12 part 1. When we work on another load or use another bullet or powder or something like that, make any changes, we'll do part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and so forth. And then when we get to the range, I'll do the shooting video that's also part 1, part 2, part 3 that will correspond with the reloading video. So I just wanted to throw that out there again. Like, these videos can get so long and I don't want to have y'all sitting here for 40 minutes or so. But it's safe to say, when we do a reloading video, I'm gonna try and upload the shooting video and the reloading video essentially at around the same time each. So you don't get a reloading video and then have to wait for the shooting video. So we're gonna cut it right here. We are going to pack up, we're gonna hit the range, and then we will start a new video with the shooting, data analysis, testing, etc., stuff like that, and then just general discussion after. So again, I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. Tell your dog I also said hi. See you in the next one. Oh, it's such a cute weenie dogs. It's the cutest weenie dogs. Do you want to go shoot the Mark 12? You want to go to the range? Hey, I was watching HK Rifleworks, and he said to tell me to tell you that he said hi. So hi. from him.